Hello, and welcome to this example on compound interest. We want to determine a single future payment to replace two past payments that were missed. So what single payment in 3 years would replace a payment of $5650 3 years ago and a payment of $14,000 6 years ago? Assume both payments were not paid and that their interest rate is 8.65% compounded quarterly. And we need to round the answer to the nearest cent. To work with this problem, it's useful to remember that money is something that has more value as time passes. And if there is interest being accumulated, and that essentially the value of money changes with respect to time. Now, when we have a problem that involves various dates, like here we have 3 years, that passed, and then 3 years ago there was this payment that was due and was not paid, and then 6 years before there was that payment, and so on and so forth. It's useful to draw a timeline. So here we have a timeline, and here is the present moment. So here we are right now, and according to what the problem says, we want to know about the payment that will settle two payments in 3 years. So we need to know what happens 3 years from now. In 3 years. And first payment was $5650 that was supposed to be paid 3 years ago. So 3 years ago, here we have, stick here, 3 years ago. Years ago. And here we have what happened 6 years ago. Okay. So 3 years ago, there was this payment, $5650 that was missed. And then there was a payment of $14,000 that was missed 6 years ago. And the interest rate the whole time has been 8.65% compounded quarterly. Okay. To determine the single payment that would settle those amounts, we want to know the value of those amounts in 3 years. So we need to know the future value of those $14,000. So this is a past value, but let's call it just present value 1. And this $14,000 will be worth whatever they're worth in 3 years. And then if we call this PV2, those $5650 will be worth whatever they are worth in 3 years. And the single payment that will replace those payments will be the addition of future values. Okay. Future values depend on those values that we have here. Remember that the future value of money can be computed by doing present value multiplied by 1 plus I to the n, where I is the periodic interest rate, the interest rate for a given compounding period, and n is the total number of compounding periods during a term. Now, to compute the future value of the first quantity, the $14,000, we need to take into account that we start with $14,000. And then we have that nominal interest rate that is usually denoted by J. And it's the rate per annum on which the compound interest calculation is based for a given compounding period. To find I, we divide J by the compounding frequency. And because we have that interest is compounded quarterly, and the compounding frequency is 4. The I is j divided by 4. We divide the decimal equivalent of 8.65%. We have 0.0856865, divided by 4. And when we perform that division, we find the number 0.021625. 0.021625. Here we have 0.02625. And then that gets raised to the total number of compounding periods. Now, between 6 years ago and 3 years after, there is 9 years. And the compounding frequency is 4, remember, because interest is compounded quarterly. So here our n will be the compounded frequency multiplied by the time in years. So we have 9 years multiplied by 4. So we have 14,000 times 1 plus 0.02625, all of that raised to the 9 times 4, or 36. Now the future value of the $5650 would be $5650 multiplied by 1 plus 0.02625, the same periodic interest rate. This time, we take into account that 3 years ago, the time that passes between 3 years ago and 3 years from now is 6 years. So now we multiply 6 by 4. We take the total number of years and multiply by the compounding frequency to get the total number of compounding periods. And when we add those two numbers up, we get the single payment that will replace payments of $5650 3 years ago and $14,000 6 years ago. The answer is going to be the addition of those two numbers. When we use a calculator to add those numbers, we get approximately 39,000. The symbol right here means approximately. And then 39,684.41. What we have here is that a payment of about $39,684.41 would settle both payments in 3 years. So we found the value of money 6 years ago and 3 years ago in 3 years. We added those values up. That gives us a single payment that would replace the payment of $5650 3 years ago and $14,000 6 years ago. Okay, if you have questions, please write a comment or contact me, and I'll be happy to help you. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.